Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Radiant Essential, and I'm your host Natasha St. Michael, and thank you so much for joining me. So recently I've been doing a video series of different remedies and different recipes for those that might have a cold or flu, and different things you can do naturally to help yourself get better and to relieve some of the symptoms. And so today I'm going to show you how to make a fresh turmeric juice. Turmeric root, which I'll show you right now, is this. This is fresh turmeric, characterized by its bright orange color, is fantastic anti-inflammatory. And so anyone that's sick that has sort of like that aching body, you know, kind of like the aches and pains that come either from having a fever or just having the flu and being run down, and even anyone that actually has any kind of chronic aches and pains like arthritis, things like that, turmeric is great as an anti-inflammatory. And so what I suggest for anyone that's sick is to have fresh turmeric juice every day. Now I'm going to show you how to do it by hand and not using a juicer. The one thing about turmeric is that it stains, and so personally I'd never want to make like a full-on turmeric juice in my juicer because it would just stain it. It would turn it bright yellow and it's very difficult to clean. So you're much better off actually making it by hand. Plus also I find it's easier to drink if you're grating it by hand and soaking it in some hot water just a little bit, just to dilute it a little bit, and you drink it as a shot. So I'm going to go through it step by step how to make it, and if you can make this every day while you're sick, this would really help to speed up your recovery and make the sickness more bearable. Alright, so let's get started. Okay, what you're going to need is fresh turmeric, and I would suggest when you're buying the fresh turmeric, get the big pieces. I would kind of avoid the smaller pieces like this because it's just harder to grate, whereas if you have a larger piece, it's easier to handle it, and you're actually less likely to get your hands stained and for it to get all over the place. So go with larger pieces when you're selecting fresh turmeric. And we're going to be grating down about 1 to 2 tablespoons of freshly grated turmeric. So a piece like this would be perfect. Then what you're going to need is something, a tool to grate it. In the West, they a lot of times use metal graters such as this, or a hand grater like this. Whatever you have that finely grates down the turmeric would be perfect. What I'm going to be using is a tool that they use in Southeast Asia. Here in Indonesia, this is a typical tool. It's wooden and it has little metal spikes coming out of it, and this is what we use to grate down turmeric and ginger and other spices. Alright, so I'm going to use this, but you're perfectly welcome to use a metal grater. Then you're going to need something to grate the turmeric in. I suggest using a bowl, it's much easier, and the main thing is you want to use something that you don't mind getting stained. Okay, that's the first thing, because turmeric has a very strong color to it and it can stain your anything. So don't use your precious china to be grating it. Use something that you don't mind staining. If you're going to grate it on wood, like a wood cutting board, be prepared, especially with anything wood, that it will absorb the pigment and stain. So I always prefer just to use porcelain because I can wash it out and less likely to stain. And so we're going to need these 2 items here, these 2 tools to grate it, and then later we're going to need some hot water to pour onto the grated turmeric, and therefore another glass, and something to strain it later on. So you'll need a fine mesh strainer. Again, I'm using a metal one instead of using a nylon nut milk bag to strain it, just because it is hot. Okay, we're pouring hot water on top of it, so better to use something metal and not something that you have to touch, because again, if you're going to strain turmeric in like a nylon nut milk bag, you are going to stain your hands in the bag and everything. It'll be a mess. So it's best to use a fine mesh strainer such as this. Alright, so we'll put this aside because we'll use it for later. Let's get on to first grating the turmeric. So the one thing is you want to make sure it's washed. You don't necessarily have to peel it. I suggest leaving the peel on and try your best to get it organic. And what you're going to do is just put your grater above the bowl, and you're just going to start to grate it. With grating the turmeric, you just want to make sure you're not putting your fingers anywhere there, or else it will get stained as well. So the art of doing it is just not to be touching the fresh turmeric and using larger pieces to grate. This is very easy, very simple.
So here's the freshly grated turmeric. Okay, so we're going to just put it into an empty glass. And then we're going to pour hot water over it. Okay, just covering it. That's all you need. And then with the spoon, you're just going to mix it around. And you're going to let this sit, I would say, for at least 15 minutes. You can let it sit even for a half an hour or an hour. Okay, so after you've left it sitting for a good 15 to 30 minutes, you're going to stir it around it again. So once everything is mixed thoroughly, what you're going to do is you're going to strain it into this glass over here. So what we're going to do is put the strainer on top here. We'll put the spoon to the side, and we're going to pour this into this glass here. And pretty much what you want to do is you want to get all of the shredded turmeric into the strainer here so that you can push the juice out into the glass. And I would suggest it's always good to use a wide rim glass or even a little bowl to strain it into, just so that you make sure all the juice gets into the glass and not falling out of the sides. And you're going to press all the juice out. And here is our fresh turmeric juice. Now it's warm, which is, I find, easier to drink. And the main thing is that you don't want to sip this. You just want to drink it down, hopefully in one shot. You can add a little bit of a sweetener to it if you like, or some cinnamon. You can add in perhaps some honey or maple syrup or coconut palm sugar, anything you'd like. Personally, I just like to drink it down as is. It's not super strong, so not to worry. It's not like having ginger or something like that, which is, I find, to have a stronger taste to it. Whereas with the turmeric juice, it's quite subtle. So do try it without a sweetener, and if you do feel like you need it, then add some in. So we're going to drink this down now. Easy, very, very easy. It's easy to drink. And for those that might be asking if you can use powdered turmeric instead of fresh turmeric, I actually strongly recommend using the fresh turmeric. I find that there's a huge difference between having the powdered stuff compared to having the fresh stuff, especially with spices, because the main thing is that with any kind of powdered spice, it loses its taste and it loses its strength over time, and you never know how long ago it was processed. And I find in general, when it comes down to making something that's medicinal, like a turmeric juice, it's best to use the fresh turmeric root as opposed to powdered turmeric. And I'd say even with just cooking with turmeric, it's so much better using the fresh turmeric root as opposed to using the powdered stuff. So for those that want to actually add in more turmeric into your diet, I also did a while ago a yellow curry, an Indonesian yellow curry. I did a recipe demo showing how to actually make the paste from scratch and how to put the curry together. And so I'll put a link to that too, because that also uses a lot of turmeric in it, and that's something that I regularly eat also just during sort of the sicker months. For us here in the tropics, right now we have rainy season, so it's kind of comparable to those that are in the winter months. This is a time of year where there's a lot of flu, a lot of sickness, and even a lot of tropical diseases and viruses going around. So at this time of year, it's really good to be having turmeric, which is great to also help to build up your immunity. So do try this out, and I'm wishing everyone a super fabulous day. Bye.